Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
What you're hearing is Hardie Fiber Cement Siding living up to its reputation as the siding that helps resist weather damage, no matter what Mother Nature throws its way. James Hardie knows how important a reputation is, especially when you're a home builder. That's why Hardie products withstand the elements better than wood-based siding, with styles to match their strength. Because when home builders work with us, we deliver our best so they can look their best. Protect your reputation with exterior products by James Hardie.
Tape Deck Media.
Welcome to Line by Line, Romeo and Juliet, a Ruddle Me This podcast mini-series. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to be bringing on actors, comedians, and other people that are knowledgeable about the bard himself, William Shakespeare. Each episode, I'm going to bring on a different guest, and we're going to go through the play line by line, and the guest is going to explain to me the bits of the language or add context here and there, basically just explain to me whenever I get stuck. I don't know how many episodes there are going to be of this. We're basically just going to see how far through the play we can get in the 40-minute Zoom time limit and go from there. So sit back, relax, and let's enjoy the show. Alrighty, welcome to the first episode of Line by Line, Romeo and Juliet. I'm your host, Taylor Ruddle. I'm recording this a day before the first session with one of my experts, and I thought it might be good for continuity's sake to first talk about what I know about the play and I guess Shakespeare himself, just to give a bit of a context as to where I'm coming at this play from compared to my experts, who will undoubtedly know the play very well. So to my knowledge, Romeo and Juliet is about two teenagers who are from different, I don't know if they're noble houses. I know vaguely that opening line where it says two great houses alike in dignity, so I don't know whether that's the equivalent of like the Starks and the Lannisters from Game of Thrones, but yeah, they're essentially Nepo babies. And they seem to fall in love at a party, and if I remember correctly, Romeo's not supposed to be there. It's at Juliet's family's party. Don't remember why or how he ends up there. I suppose my knowledge of this is basically inspired by what I've heard in the cultural zeitgeist about Romeo and Juliet. Like, I know the whole, like, what light from yonder window breaks, which I have no idea what that means. I'm very much looking forward to the expert explaining that to me. I remember we watched the 2024, it was called Romeo plus Juliet, and it was it was such a bizarre experience because they remade the whole movie in like modern times, which is kind of funny looking back on it now because it's a little bit dated, but they didn't change any of the dialogue, so it was still Shakespearean English, but set, instead of swords and everything, they had guns and shotguns and stuff. And I don't really remember it that well. That coupled with the fact that I tend to struggle to understand Shakespearean English, I didn't really get the plot of what was going on. I remember I liked Mercutio, and I liked Tybalt because he was played by John Leguizamo. I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He's one of my favourite actors, but I struggle to pronounce his name, so I apologise to any fans that I'm saying that wrong. Yeah, I liked Tybalt. I think he's Juliet's cousin or something. And that's about all I can remember. I liked the fight at the start, and I have since gone and looked up bits and pieces, and I've read a few lines into the play just to kind of see, just to make sure I'm not going to be totally out of my depth. And so the fight at the start between the capulet and the montague, yes, that's what they're called, capulets and the montagues. I quite liked that fight scene. in the movie, it always cracked me up when they were talking about their... I think one of them says to the other, "I serve as good as man as thee," and the guy shrieks back at him, "No better!" And then that's like what causes these guys to fight. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going through this. That's honestly about all I remember about the play. These two, the star-crossed lovers was always the thing. They apparently had this kind of whirlwind romance. I think they got married in secret. I remember there was some character who was a friar, who maybe married them in secret, and then something happens. I don't remember why. I remember Romeo, a lot of characters die. Mercutio dies and he shrieks, "A plague on both your houses," which is a fantastic line. I think Romeo kills Tybalt. I remember in the film he ran him over in his car and then shot him at a fountain or something, so I'm I'm looking forward to finding out what actually happened in the play. I don't know if Romeo was meant to be presented as though he's like some amazing fighter. I think he's not. I think he's just like a sort of noble. So something happens. They're not allowed to get married, I guess because they're from rival houses and their parents won't get along or something. Something happens. Romeo pretends that he died by drinking like some kind of... Hang on, no. I'm getting confused here. I don't remember. One of them pretends they died. And then the other one comes along and finds what they think is the body. So they kill themselves with a dagger. And then the other one wakes up and is like, "Oh shit." Like they didn't hear about the plan or something. And then they both end up dead. Weirdly enough, I remember it from Hot Fuzz, that production at the end. So if the Hot Fuzz one was accurate, Juliet thinks Romeo's dead. She tries to kiss his lips to get some of the poison off. That doesn't work. So in that version, she shoots herself in the head with a gun. And then that's the end of the play, maybe? I don't know. You can see, I clearly don't know this play. That's why I want to go through it. And I've been hearing for years like how good of a writer Shakespeare was, and his work has stood the test of time. Apparently, there's something where they reckon Shakespeare was actually several people. It wasn't a real person. I don't know about. Maybe that's a future episode. We'll get into that in the future. But so that was about 6 minutes of me rambling about what I know about this play. I'm going to stop recording now. And then when we check in again, I'm going to be with my first expert, which is a comedian called Jess from Auckland, I think. Past Taylor jumping in real quick just before we start this interview to say that I do apologise for the audio being a bit funky in places. Jess was just recording off of a laptop microphone, and we had some annoying New Zealand-based internet hiccups with the Zoom, so I'm going to do my best in the edit, but I highly, highly recommend you listen anyway, and just do your best with some of the funky audio, because Jess knows the source material so well. She's incredible at doing the readings of the text. She didn't make any mistakes when reading off some of the stuff. It blew my mind how good she was, and the level of knowledge that she has, and little tidbits and bits and pieces that I didn't even pick up on until she pointed them out. So the whole thing is well worth the listen. Bear with us. The audio quality is not like studio quality, but it should be just fine. All right. Enjoy the show. Okay, welcome Jess to the first line-by-line episode where we're going through Romeo and Juliet. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's exciting.
It is, yeah. I've been really looking forward to doing this. So we'll save a little bit of your kind of history and stuff for the end, just to appease the listeners. We'll get straight into doing the play. So you said you quite liked the prologue of Romeo and Juliet. So did you want to lead us in reading through the prologue and then we can kind of go through it?
Sure. Are we reading it in full first?
Yeah, let's do the prologue in full, and then maybe the dialogue maybe we'll take one each or something.
Okay. Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows do with their death bury their parents' strife, the fearful passage of their death-marked love, and the continuance of their parents' rage, which, but their children's end naught could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage, the which, if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend.
Wow. The audience can't see, but I'm clapping into the mic now. That was really, I feel like I'm getting almost like a private play done for myself here. So yeah, I'm not sure how to unpack this. I guess I've done a little bit of pre-recording where I talk about what I kind of know about Romeo and Juliet, but is there anything in the prologue that you particularly like or sticks out to you?
Well, the thing that I love that Shakespeare's doing that he actually doesn't do that often is this is a massive spoiler alert.
It is, isn't it?
He's literally telling you exactly what is about to happen for the next 2 hours. Hey guys, and this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then they die. So it's the worst spoiler in history, I would say.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. I think I'm not even sure.
There's going to be no surprises, Taylor. There's no surprises.
Yeah. You do know how it's going to end, don't you? I'm just trying to think if there's anything that jumps out at me. I think it's all pretty straightforward. So should we just get into some of these dialogue bits from here? So I'll do maybe Samson and you do Gregory. What's that? Yep.
Can I make a suggestion? When he says star-crossed lovers,
yep.
He's saying that destiny, that this occurred, it was nobody's fault.
Right.
Really.
Yeah. So that's what he's meaning there.
He's giving everyone the way out. He's like, yeah, I mean, their families didn't like each other, but it was, it was written in the stars. It was the vibe,
Yeah, it's very true. Well, that's, that's good to know. Yeah. Okay. So I'll be Samson and you be Gregory. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So scene 1, Verona, a public place. First, actually, I have to stop. Where is Verona? Is that Italy?
Verona's in Italy.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a lovely kind of, you call it, it's gorgeous.
Wonderful. Okay. I'm up to speed so far. So enter Samson and Gregory of the house Capulet, armed with swords and bucklers. So Samson says, Gregory, oh my word, will not carry coals.
No, but then we should be colliers.
I mean, and we be in collar, we'll draw.
Aye, while you live, draw your neck out of the collar.
Okay, so I'm going to pause there because I kind of get what they're saying.
Yeah.
So why does he lead talking about coals?
He's like, so the irony is like, they're servants.
Yeah.
But we're not just going to be servants, bitch. We're not just carry coals.
Right. So that would be
and
like
Gregory's
a low...
like, no, we're not, bitch. Because then we would then we would be like people who work in the coal mine. We're not them.
Okay, got
and
it.
then Samson says, can we be in cola? Now, cola is, some people might know the word choleric.
Mm-hmm.
So cola is anger, like in a bad way. We're in a bad way. If we get angry, we'll draw. And they're not talking about pencils. They're talking about swords.
Yeah. And then...
So if I get angry, I'm going to pull my sword out and I'm going to screw you up.
Okay, got it. And then when he says, draw your neck out the collar, what is he
Gregory
talking about?
And Gregory goes, okay, bitch. Yeah, okay, bitch. If we're going to fight, I'm going to pull your neck out of your collar and...
So they're not arguing with each other. They're sort of hyping each other up.
They're bantering. They're having a bit of a banter.
Okay. So the next one, Samson says, I strike quickly being moved.
But thou art not quickly moved to strike.
And then Samson says, a dog of the house Montague moves me.
To move is to stir, and to be valiant is to stand. Therefore, if thou art moved, thou wilt away.
A dog of the house that shall move me to stand, I will take the wall of any man or maid of Montagues.
That shows thee a weak slave, for the weakest goes to the wall.
True. And therefore, women being the weaker vessels are ever thrust to the wall. Therefore, I will push Montague's men from the wall and thrust his maids to the wall. Okay, let's unpack what they were saying there. So they're are they actually kind of like, like you said, bantering, but like, are they sort of implying that they could beat each other in a fight if it came to it?
Mm-hmm. And
Interesting.
also there's an extreme amount of sexual innuendo here.
Yes, evidently
Yes,
so.
there's an extreme amount. The dog of the house of Montague moved me. So this is where Shakespeare has his double meaning. Moves meaning affects me, like has an effect on me, but also potentially getting an erection. And Gregory goes, oh, absolutely, because to move is to stir, and to be valiant is to stand.
Wow.
And then Gregory says that you're a scaredy cat, so you're just going to run away.
Yeah, that's right. Wow. So already we're only like 2 sort of paragraphs in, and there's already innuendos stirring.
Absolutely. And the audience would have got this straight away. They would not, like, they would have been like, oh,
he did not just say that.
God.
Yeah. So then when he says
sensitive at the time, so they had to be careful what they wrote. They couldn't write anything that was defamatory about the royals, or they couldn't write anything defamatory about anyone who was sort of high up in society. And they had to be careful about how they referenced sex. And this is how good Shakespeare was.
Wow.
There's nothing particularly naughty in this.
But if you know the kind of slang of the time, then it all is almost like, the people of the time, like you said, they would understand it. That is really fascinating. I didn't realize that early in there was already an innuendo.
He's so naughty. And also the actors would have helped, because the actors would have been like
yes, right. So there would have been a sort of wink and a nudge to the audience. Wow. Okay. 100%. I'm learning a lot already. So then when he says thrust to the wall, is that another sort of simile or an expression that they would have used back then?
Kind of. I mean, if you're going to get in trouble, you'll get backed up against the wall, right?
Yeah.
And someone will give you a bit of... But also, if you're a lady and you're backed up against a wall, that's something else.
Yes, I can imagine that does that does imply something. So he's kind of also now talking about how much of a ladies' man he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So then Gregory says, the quarrel is between our masters and us, their men.
Mm-hmm. 'Tis all one. I will show myself a tyrant. When I have fought with the men, I will be cruel with the maids and cut off their heads.
The heads of the maids?
Aye. The heads of the maids. Or their maiden heads. Take it in what sense thou wilt.
So then he's sort of implying that he's going to like de-virginize the maids. Is that what he's saying? Right.
So this is a play on words again, maids and head. So maidenhead is a woman's virginity. And this is the most prized thing that you can have, you can take. And it's also, at this point in time, without it, a woman is of no worth whatsoever. That you are, when you get married, when you're paying a dowry, you are paying for the fact that this person is a virgin. Like, this is part of the property that is owned by the father, is the maidenhead. So if I take the maidenhead, I'm usurping the father, which is what, it's not a girl, it's about the power play between the men. Wow. Okay. So then, I mean, I don't know if I need to add how I feel about that. It's yeah. Okay. So then after that, Samson said, which is why,
sorry, I think we cut out a tiny bit there. I didn't catch that last thing he said.
Well, that's the whole point of Romeo and Juliet, is that Juliet is a virgin and her maidenhead is extremely, extremely valuable. And that's why her parents are trying to marry her to a prince.
Right.
They certainly don't want anyone from the Montagues getting their filthy hands on it.
Wow. Yeah. Is Romeo, I guess we might get to it eventually, but is he presented as being a virgin?
Romeo? No, so when we first meet him, he's love struck. He's had a broken heart. He's fallen in love with Rosalind, and she's given him the old clothes.
That's right. I do remember that now that you mention it.
Yeah. So we know that Romeo is 16 and we know that Juliet is 13.
Wow. That changes
And
the
we know
picture
that-
slightly, doesn't it?
Yeah. And we know that the marriage of Juliet to the prince, so we know that the prince is probably about 19 or 20. But when you keep in mind that, most people, their lifespan would be up to about 40,
Yeah.
that getting your children married pretty quickly and popping out some kids is
Yeah, that's right. They're basically half done at that point, aren't they? Almost.
really.
Wow. Okay, so then Gregory says they must take it in sense that feel it.
Me they shall feel where I'm able to stand, and 'tis known I am a pretty piece of flesh.
I love that line. That's almost feels like something you could hear someone say today.
Yeah.
And so then he's saying stand there as in the erection thing before. Got it? Okay.
I've got it. Mine is good.
So then Gregory says, "'Tis well thou art not fish. If thou had been poor John. Draw thy tool. Here comes two of the house of Montagues."
My naked weapon is out. Quarrel. I will back thee.
How? Turn thy back and run?
Fear me not.
No, Mary, I fear thee.
Let us take the law of our side. Let them begin.
Okay, so there, what is Gregory talking about with the fish there?
So a fish, there's several things that he's talking about. So a John, what I'll do is I don't want to get this mixed up, so I am going to go and have a little look at a website called Shakespeare's Words, because it's more than two definitions for this. So this is what it says. So yes, ultimately, yes, for the senses, for the senses benefit, we're just talking about fish.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, of course.
But there's nothing else going on.
No, nothing
it's
untoward.
Just about fish.
No.
But then, I'm just going to look for it for you. Sorry, I should have done this before I started.
While you do that, I'll keep talking a little bit. So I always like, because I've seen the Baz Luhrmann movie, and one of my favorite scenes was this fight at the start. And I remember one of them saying, "Quarrel, I will back thee." So then a little bit here, I think Samson says, "Quarrel and I'll back thee." But then it almost seems like Gregory maybe doesn't trust Samson to have his back. Is that what's kind of going on there?
Well, that's literally what he just said was, okay, all right, you start and then I'll back you up.
Oh, gotcha.
And he's like, no, we're doing this together. He's like, yeah. I wasn't saying that I was just going to run, but he was.
I love it.
And this is what's funny. Exactly. It's funny because he's like, oh, are you first base?
Yeah.
No, bitch.
Isn't it funny how men have never changed? Like, this is still the like take a swing, brah, kind of like dialogue going back and forth here.
Come at me.
Yeah.
So,
oh man.
With the fish,
yes,
he's comparing it to, it's a bit mean, but you've got fresh fish, right? And then you've got dried fish, which is what a John is. A John is also a toilet.
Oh, so even back then they called it a John?
Yeah, so it's really like, and this, for his audience, they would be getting these jokes, like they'd be like zingers, like boom, 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 boom. My naked weapon is out. So that literally is the sword. He's finally not talking about his penis. We finally moved on. I will back thee. And you can imagine the stage directions was that he backs off. And Gregory's like, whoa, are you about to run away? Turn thy back and run. And Samson's like, no, bitch. And Gregory's like, no. I'm pretty sure you're going to, I fear thee. I don't trust you.
Yeah.
I don't trust you. Get out here. And Samson's like, oh, okay then. I'll come and stand next to you then. Let us take the law of our side. I'll stand next to you. And Gregory's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Gregory's got a plan of action. I will frown as I pass by. Wow.
Yeah. That'll
hurt them. A frown.
Would that
so
have
they've
been...
gone from being these...
Yeah. Yeah. To when they've actually got to
raise
suddenly...
my eyebrow at them.
All bark and no bite. So
Yeah.
then the next line, Samson says, "Nay, as they dare, I will bite my thumb at them, which is a disgrace to them if they bear it." So what is the thumb biting? Is that like flicking them the middle finger kind of thing? Yeah, okay. Biting my thumb at them. And so that would have been a really aggressive gesture back in those days.
Oh, yeah. That's not a peaceful, how are you, mate?
No.
That's like a go fuck yourself.
Okay. So then it says, enter
And then
Abraham.
this is quite funny what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what happens with the thumb. Now, who do you want me to be?
So you can be, see, it says, enter Abraham and Balthazar. You can be Abraham, and I'll do.
Okay.
Oh, let's just do one line each, and we'll maybe just say who's talking at the start because they're all arguing at each other now.
Do you bite your thumb at us, sir?
Samson says, I do bite my thumb, sir.
Do you bite your thumb at us, sir?
Samson, aside to Gregory, is the law of our side if I say I?
No, sir. I do not bite my thumb at you, sir, but I bite my thumb, sir.
Gregory, do you quarrel, sir?
Quarrel, sir? No, sir.
Samson, if you do, sir, I am for you. I serve as good a man as you.
No better.
Samson says, well, sir.
Say better. Here comes one of my master's kinsmen.
Samson, yes, better, sir.
You lie.
This is Samson says, draw if you be men. Gregory, remember thy swashing blow. So let's unpack what we've just gone through from there. So
this is funny as well. This is still funny.
Yeah. It's funny that classic, like, do you bite your thumb at us, sir? And he's like, no, I'm just biting my thumb. And if you happen to be in the way of it, then I guess you got hit by it. But, I'm just biting my thumb for no reason.
But also, Samson and Gregory are pretty shit at fighting.
Yeah.
And so Samson might be doing a little, just biting my thumb.
Yeah. And then so the two that have come in, they are of Romeo's house.
Capulet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, they're Montagues.
Montague, yes.
Gregory and Samson are Capulet, they're Juliet side, and Balthazar and Abraham, they're Montagues, they're Romeo's side.
Gotcha. The one part that I always laughed at from the Baz Luhrmann film is when he says, I serve a good as man as you, and the guy screams back at him, no better, and he's like really offended by it.
Yeah, what? And then I love that Samson just has to double check because these guys have all been warned. They've been fighting with each other in the streets. They've been making things really annoying for everyone. And so Samson just wants to double check, hey, are we going to get in trouble if I say yes that I bit my thumb in him? And so everybody goes, no, go ahead, do it.
Yeah.
The law is not on our side. The law is not on our side. And so Samson goes, actually, yeah, I know I didn't bite my thumb at you, but I did bite my thumb. And so Gregory's, getting all pumped up, like, are you looking for a fight, bitch? Are you looking for a fight? And Abraham's like, no.
So they all kind of want to fight.
Because if you are,
we'll have it kind of thing.
I'll take you.
Yeah.
I'll take you on.
Because they all want to fight, but they just don't want to be the one who starts it, right?
Exactly, because they know they're going to get so much trouble.
So actually,
Samson finally says, Samson is the one who starts the fight. He finally says, draw if you be men. So draw your swords. And Gregory, remember thy squashing blow. Now, to me, this could be two things. We can't see them on stage, but this is definitely a comedic thing as well. So to me, it could be one of two things. It could be Gregory hot-footed it as soon as Samson says, draw if you be men. Gregory's like, no, I'm out of here. And so this is Samson, like, get back here, bitch. Or the second one, which is still comedic, is that Gregory's really shit at sword fighting. And the swashing blow, he goes like this or something on stage. And it's a bit more comedy before we get dark.
Almost
know?
like when you're a little kid and you watch like too many kung fu movies, and so you tell your friends like, "Oh, I can do the 5-point exploding heart technique, no problem." And then when you actually have to get into a fight, they're like, "Do the 5-point exploding heart technique," and you're like, "Oh, well, I can't do it now." Like, I,
Not right now. I've got a sore arm.
I'm too tired. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I'll do it later. Okay, so Samson and Gregory at this point, they've confronted the Montague kinsmen, and it looks like they're going to fight. And Samson says, "Draw if you be men." So draw your swords, like put your fists up.
get your dukes up.
And he turns and says to Gregory, "Remember thy swashing blow." And what that says to me is it's two things that obviously we can't see because they're not on stage. But the first thing that it says to me is that when Samson said, "Draw if you be men," Gregory tried to run away. And so he goes, "Gregory,
Yeah.
get back here."
You're not going anywhere, fella.
Or, yeah, you're not going anywhere, bitch. You started this.
Yeah.
And also, it's quite comedic. We can imagine that Gregory and Samson, they're servants, they're not great swordsmen. And so we can get something really funny from Gregory's swashing blow. Like, he couldn't hit a fly.
Yeah. So then I actually had a great question, which you've just led nicely into. So when you say they're servants of the household, what is their actual role? Are they like just sort of general kind of dumb muscle, or what would they do for the houses?
Yeah, so a manservant, a servant can be any type of person, but it's basically like a personal assistant. They'll do anything with you, but they're also part of your gang. So they add numbers. And the more people that you have as servants, the more people you have in your retinue, the more important you are.
Of course.
Um,
So then the houses of Montague and Capulet, like, have you seen Game of Thrones?
I have.
So are they like kind of like, are they lords, or are they lesser down than lords?
They're not quite, they're lords, but they're not princes.
Gotcha.
Which is why Juliet's mum and dad want her to marry the prince.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
If they get a bit higher up in society, if the Capulets, it makes them higher than the Montagues. So it's like another little...
Got it. Okay, wonderful. So then we have a character called Benvolio, who is Romeo's cousin, right?
He is.
Okay, so Benvolio's... go ahead.
Benvolio knows, well, they all know that they're not supposed to be fighting. So, part fools. So, what the fuck? Get away from each other.
Yeah.
Put up your swords. You know not what you do. Put up your swords means put them away.
Mm-hmm. So it says he beats down their swords, and then Tybalt enters.
Yeah.
And Tybalt says...
So this is an issue.
Yes.
So Tybalt is known as the Prince of Cats.
I love that
Tybalt
title.
is inherently violent. He's inherently aggressive. If you remember John Leguizamo from the Baz Luhrmann version,
that character.
Is the ultimate Tybalt.
I love him as Tybalt.
He's like a ninja, and his violence has no bounds. His anger knows no bounds. And he couldn't give a flying fuck about getting in trouble for fighting.
Yeah. Because he's in the family, right? So he's not going to get in as much trouble as the rest of them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so while Benvolio is trying to sort of diffuse the situation, Tybalt's like, I can't wait to fuck these guys up.
He wants the smoke.
So bad. So bad.
So Tybalt is kind of like a tomcat, like an alley cat sort of personified, is he? Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. He's vicious. He's absolutely vicious and dangerous.
Yeah. And he has a great line. He says, "What art thou drawn among these heartless hinds? Turn thee, Benvolio, and look upon thy death," which is just a cold line.
And so heartless hinds, gutless wonders.
Yeah.
Fuckwits. What are you doing with these fuckwits?
Yeah.
Turn thee, Benvolio. I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. Does Tybalt have some sort of begrudging respect for Benvolio? Like, are they kind of on the same level in terms of like their household? Gotcha.
And so for Tybalt to get the head of Benvolio would be a huge deal.
Yeah.
But it would also make an all-out war.
Yeah.
Because we've got scuffles at the moment. We've got little fights. But if one of these two guys dies, hashtag they do. And it's not the one you think it is.
No.
If one of these guys dies, then all bets are off, and both the Montagues and the Capulets, there'll be civil war.
Yeah. So I had another question as well, actually.
Dying.
Yeah. When these guys fight, are they using fencing swords, or like what kind of era?
No, they're using the real deal.
Really?
So each of them would have like their own sword, but they'd also have like a little dagger as well. There's lots of different swords at this point in time, and you can imagine the higher up someone is, the more beautiful the hilt will be.
Yeah.
The better the steel.
Yeah.
French steel, Italian steel. It's these are not cheap. These are this is like a car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
I loved the guns in the movie. It was like you say, they've got, one of them had like a keychain thing hanging from it. I think maybe Tybalt's one had like the Virgin Mary engraved on the handle, and yeah, that was cool.
His righteous anger. That was a great little nod to that.
Yes.
That Tybalt thinks he's right.
Yes. So then, if you want to continue with Benvolio, we can go from there.
So Benvolio, I do but keep the peace. Put up thy sword, or manage it to part these men with me. What?
Drawn and talk of peace? I hate the word, as I hate hell, all Montagues, and thee. Have at thee, coward. And it says they fight. So I was always curious, what does Tybalt hate hell?
Is like,
yeah, Benvolio wants to...
He doesn't think he's going there.
That's so funny. Yeah, so Benvolio wants to stop them from fighting, but Tybalt is like, he thinks he's in the right kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, and he's kind of like, don't bullshit me. You can't bullshit a bullshitter. I know you want to fight.
Yeah.
I hate hell. I hate every single Montague. And most importantly, I hate you, and you're here.
Especially you.
Especially you epic fuckface.
Yeah. So then it says...
And although Benvolio is quite level-headed, he's still, that's a challenge, and he has to rise to the challenge because there's witnesses as well. The servants are there.
Yeah. So then it says, enter several of both houses who join the fray, and then enter citizens with clubs. First citizen says, clubs, bills, and partisans, strike, beat them down, down with the Capulets, down with the Montagues. So they're sick of them by this point.
They're over it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the gangs at the moment sort of killing each other in regular neighborhoods. It's like, stop it.
Yeah.
Like, it's really affecting our lives.
Yeah. But it would be almost like as if the Kardashians went to war with, like, I don't know, the Trump family or something, right?
Yeah. They, and they've all got standing. They've all got, these aren't stupid people.
Mm-hmm.
They're meant to be sort of respected.
Yeah. They're meant to know better, I think, is what my mother used to say to me when I got in trouble as a kid. Like, you should know better than this.
Yeah, they do know better.
Yeah. So then it says, enter Capulet in his gown and Lady Capulet. So that's...
So Capulet and Lady Capulet being mother and father of Juliet.
Mm-hmm. And I seem to remember in the film they were just riding past in like a limo or something. Where would they have come from here? Like they're sort of just appearing in the street.
Well, they are. It sounds like they're directly outside the household.
Gotcha.
It sounds like the Capulets. And at this point in time, the citizens, it's become a huge fight. It's not just 2 versus 2. Like, we have a lot of people fighting in the street right now. It's hard to avoid the noise and the shouting and everything.
True. So do you want to read Capulet's line?
This is quite funny. What noise is this?
Yeah.
Like, is it a bird? Is it a plane?
Yeah.
Like, that's quite funny. So what noise is this? Give me my long sword, ho.
And then Lady Capulet says, A crutch. A crutch. Why call you for a sword?
My sword, I say. Old Montague has come and flourishes his blade in spite of me.
So then, when she says a crutch, what is she like? Is she like an injury, like a thing you would have if you were injured?
It's fine.
Mm.
You're going to fuck yourself up. You're too old to do this.
Yeah, yeah,
and this isn't going to help.
yeah. How old
Like
are
a crutch.
Capulet? How old are Capulet and Montague kind of supposed to be?
Well, if we can imagine that they would have got married, they're probably in their early 40s, I
Yeah,
would say.
which is old to these people, as you established before.
Very old, very old. But I think the other really funny thing was that this old guy comes out and says, give me my long sword. He's like, give me my AK-47.
Yeah, yeah.
Give me my bazooka.
Uh-huh.
And that's why she's like, no, bitch, are you freaking high? You're too old to do that.
She's had this it's happened too often, and she's had it with him.
Yeah.
I do like that. A crutch.
then-
A crutch. Yeah, and she knows he's going to get injured or hurt.
Oh,
or-
yeah.
So then
Yeah.
it says enter Montague and Lady Montague.
Yep.
Montague
And-
says, "Oh, go ahead."
These are Romeo's parents.
Uh-huh. So then Montague says, "Thou villain Capulet, hold me not, let me go."
Thou shalt not stir a foot to seek a foe.
So the wives are the ones that are like,
Oh, yeah.
you're not doing this anymore. Yeah.
Back up. And it's actually, Lady Montague actually holds him back.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, let go of me. And she's like, no,
You're not going to do this. It's like
No,
when you go to the
not
pub,
happening.
someone gets into a fight at the pub and his wife is shouting something like, "Darren, he's not worth it. Stop it." You know, that classic pub. Montague and Capulet are just old dudes at the pub.
Just leave it.
Okay, so when it says enter prince with attendants, and I'm guessing that's not the musician Prince, that's like the prince.
Yeah, so this is not Paris. This is not the guy that Juliet is has been arranged for their marriage. This is the prince, kind of like the mayor, kind of like the sheriff. He's the guy who's in charge of Verona.
Gotcha.
And he has had a gutful of these people.
You again?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Would you like to do his
Want me to read it?
would you like to do his speech, or shall I
Sure.
Yep, go for it.
Rebellious subjects, enemies to peace, profaners of this neighbour-stained field. Will they not hear? What? Ho, you men, you beasts, that quench the fire of your pernicious rage with purple fountains issuing from your veins. On pain of torture from those bloody hands, throw your mistempered weapons to the ground and hear the sentence of your moved prince. 3 civil brawls, bred of an airy word by thee, old Capulet and Montague, have thrice disturbed the quiet of our streets and made Verona's ancient citizens cast by their grave, beseeming ornaments to wield old partisans in hands as old, cankered with peace, to pass your tainted hate. If ever you disturb our streets again, your lives shall pay for forfeit of the peace. For this time, all the rest depart away. You, Capulet, shall go along with me. And Montague, come you this afternoon to know our further pleasure in this case, to old Freetown, our common judgment place. Once more, on pain of death, all men depart.
Wow. All I can say is bravo. You're very good at this.
Thank you. He
Wow.
is so pissed.
He's had
He's super
enough.
pissed.
It feels like being yelled at by your dad, you know, when he get like your
Yeah.
dad's chill usually, and he's like, "Nah, I've had enough." I love that line. You men, you beasts. It's like you're not even human anymore. You're just animals at this point.
And he is throwing curveballs all over the place, Tyler, because something else that he says, when he says 3 civil brawls bred of an airy word by thee. Now, back in the day, it used to be in English that we had 2 versions of you.
Mhm.
We had a formal you, which means if I'm talking to someone older than me or a king or a queen, I say you, your. And if I'm talking to a friend who's on the same level as me, or I'm, just mucking around, having a chat, I say thee and thy.
Ah.
But the fact that the prince calls Capulet and Montague thee,
So
he's like,
he's sort of putting them below him in terms of status. Wow, I didn't
I
realize.
have no respect for you. And the audience at that point in time would have been like, whoa,
Yeah.
he just beat them. He just beat them.
Wow. Yeah, I speak Japanese relatively well. And they have that same kind of status thing where if you can put yourself below and them above and you below. So that's really interesting to learn that we had that in English at a point.
I kind of miss it.
Yeah, it'd be useful, wouldn't it?
Like, it would be great to be able to thee and thou someone or thee and thou someone.
Yeah, I'm going to start doing it.
Yeah, back thee up, bitch.
Hey, the line starts back there. That's useful. I'm gonna try and
Right?
I'm gonna try and remember that.
Yeah, do it.
Was there any other good bits into is there anything in that stands out that you particularly like?
So this is basically the beginning of the end, because it's one of them, 3 civil brawls, so 3 street fights, bred of an airy word, so you don't even know why it started.
Mm-hmm.
Someone just happened to offend you. You don't know what happened. 3 times you've done this, and people are dying because you're starting these fights. Innocent citizens are dying. And if you ever do this again, we're going to execute you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's
now
quite...
notice he doesn't address the servants, and he doesn't address Benvolio or Tybalt, because ultimately the responsibility for this is on the heads of their household.
It is, yeah.
So he doesn't lower himself. He's a prince. He doesn't lower himself. The heads of the households can have their own sort of punishment themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But because this is so public, he's making sure that the people who are going to be held responsible are the heads of the household.
Yeah, yeah. That's great. That's a great speech.
Yeah, it's a brilliant speech.
It is. Okay, so then it says exunt, which is that a...
Exit.
Yeah. All but Montague, Lady Montague, and Benvolio. So then Montague says, who set this ancient quarrel and new approach? Speak, nephew, were you by when it began?
Here were the servants of your adversary and yours, close fighting ere I did approach, and I drew to part them. In the instant came the fiery Tybalt with his sword prepared, which, as he breathed defiance to my ears, he swung about his head and cut the wind, who nothing hurt withal, kissed him in scorn. While we were interchanging thrusts and blows, came more and more, and fought on part and part till the prince came, who parted either part.
So then Lady Montague says, oh, where is Romeo? Saw you him today? Right glad I am he was not at this fray.
So what I love about this is it tells you her priorities immediately.
Yeah.
Benvolio is telling them this huge story, and you know, and she's like, yeah, where's Romeo? Is he okay? This golden child.
Yeah, he really is, isn't he? The apple of his mum's eye.
Yeah.
Does it seem a bit like Benvolio?
And then Benvolio says,
does it seem like he's kind of stoked, like he's telling the story like, yeah, and then we had him on the ropes, but then the prince came, and or is he more like he knows he shouldn't have done that?
Well, he starts the story with, okay, I saw the servants of Montague and your servants fighting.
Yeah.
So I tried to break them up.
Yeah.
And while I was trying to break them up, bloody Tybalt turns up.
Yeah, you know,
and goes all, ninja. Yeah.
That's right.
Which is the truth. Like, he is telling the truth.
Yeah. I remember liking Benvolio in the movie. He seemed like he was pretty level-headed.
He's like your best buddy. He's got your back. You know he's got your back.
Yeah.
And Benvolio being a Romeo, the Montagues trust Benvolio to always be with Romeo, and that's why it's a bit weird that Romeo wasn't there.
Yeah, that is odd.
But it's great that he wasn't. Yeah, it's a good thing that he wasn't there.
Yes, 100%. So then Benvolio says, Madam, an hour before the worshipped sun peered forth the golden window of the east. A troubled mind drave me to walk abroad, where underneath the grove of sycamore that westward rooteth from the city's side. So early walking did I see your son. Towards him I made, but he was ware of me, and stole into the covert of the wood. I, measuring his affections by my own, that most are bruised when they're most alone, pursued my humour, not pursuing his, and gladly shunned who gladly fled from me. So he saw Romeo, but Romeo kind of ran away and hid, and so then he went, hey, right, fine, I'll leave you to it.
Not gonna worry. Yep, that's exactly what happened.
Okay. So then what does Montague say?
Many a morning hath he there been seen, with tears augmenting the fresh morning dew, adding to clouds more clouds with his deep sighs. But also soon as the all-cheering sun should in the furthest east begin to draw the shady curtains from Aurora's bed, away from the light steals home my heavy son, and private in his chamber pens himself, shuts up his windows, locks fair daylight out, and makes himself an artificial night. Black and portentous must this humour prove, unless good counsel may the cause remove.
Right. So he seems to be going through a bit of teenage angst at this point. Is that kind of what his dad's saying? Yeah.
Very much so. He's wearing black. He's getting multiple piercings. He hates everyone.
He's listening to pop punk.
He's listening to,
He's been crying a little bit as well, with tears augmenting the fresh morning dew.
Oh, he's crying. Oh, God, yeah. He's gutted.
My father's never said anything that poetic in his life, I think.
Right? Right?
Imagine having a dad that eloquent. Yeah.
And Montague finishes by saying, unless good counsel may the cause remove. So he's saying, hey, Benvolio, can you go and have a chat with him?
Nudging him in the ribs, like, come on, go take care of this. Yeah, yeah.
God forbid that the parents talk to him.
Yeah, they could never do that. Imagine that the father obviously so aware that his son's going through it, but also completely unwilling to do anything about it.
Oh, yeah.
So then Benvolio says, my noble uncle, do you know the cause?
I neither know it nor can learn of him.
Cannot. He hasn't even tried, and he just accepts that he can't.
No.
So then Benvolio says, have you importuned him by any means?
Both by myself and many other friends, but he, his own affection's counsellor, is to himself, I will not say how true, but to himself, so secret and so close, so far from sounding and discovery, as is the bud bit with an envious worm, ere he can spread his sweet leaves to the air or dedicate his beauty to the sun. Could we but learn from whence his sorrows grow, we would as willingly give cure as not.
Oh, interesting. So he has actually tried to talk to us. Yeah. And then...
But then I tried.
Yeah.
Like he's probably gone, are you okay? And he's gone, yeah. Like, oh, good chat.
He just walked into his room, patted him on the back and went like, you get over it, son. So then he says, if we could learn... So Romeo hasn't necessarily said why he's so sad. He's just kind of moping about.
No, and I'd be surprised if Benvolio didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
But being a good kinsman, he's not going to dump his cousin in the shit.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right. So then, enter Romeo. We're now seeing Romeo for the first time. This is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So Benvolio says, see where he comes, so please you step aside. I'll know his grievance, or be much denied.
Yeah. I would thou wert so happy by thy say to hear true shrift. Come, madam, let's away.
So there's actually quite a lot of rhyming in this, even by today's language. It rhymes quite a bit, doesn't it?
This is his iambic pentameter, which he's famous for. Some of these are the most beautiful examples of his pentameter.
Yeah.
And the reason you use pentameter, the iambic pentameter, is it reflects the heartbeat. So bump, 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 bump.
Wow.
And even though you might not understand all the words, because we already have that inside our bodies, and Shakespeare uses that, and eventually you'll find when you're watching something Shakespearean, you get into the rhythm. You might not understand all the words. You don't have to understand all the words. Even though if you do understand them, there's lots of little...
Yeah.
Yeah. Do that?
That's right. I think that's why this is so fascinating. It's so dense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's something, because I'll ask you about this at the end, but the fact that it stood the test of time is fascinating. So yeah, but we'll get into that later on. So then, Exeunt Montague and Lady Montague, and Benvolio says, "Good morrow, cousin."
Is the day so young?
But new struck 9.
Ay me, that hour's been long. Was that my father that went hence so far?
It was. What sadness lengthens Romeo's hours?
Not having that, which having makes them short.
In love?
Out.
Of love?
No, out of her favour, where I am in love.
Alas, that love so gentle in his view should be so tyrannous and rough in proof.
Alas, that love whose view is muffled still should without eyes see pathways to his will. Where shall we dine? Oh, me. What fray was here? Yet tell me not, for I have heard it all. He has much to do with hate, but more with love. Why then? Oh, brawling love. Oh, loving hate. Oh, anything of nothing first create. Oh, heavy lightness, furious vanity, this shape and chaos of well-seeming forms, feather of lead, bright smoke, cold fire, sick health, still waking sleep that is not what it is. This love feel I, that feel no love in this. I'll not laugh.
No, 'cause I rather weep.
Good heart. At what?
At thy good heart's oppression. So let's unpack some of some of that before we get too far from it. So
Yeah.
Romeo is kind of like, would you say he's kind of like the sensitive one in a family full of sort of meatheads?
Yeah.
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 And he's sort of going through his teen emo phase.
He's been ghosted.
Yeah. Okay, I understand perfectly.
He's been ghosted. So he's head over heels in love with this girl. And she's like, yeah, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And then yeah, Benvolio wants to, he's doing that whole melodramatic, like, oh, the days are so long when you're as miserable as I am. And yeah, he's really laying it on. So then, yeah, that's essentially it. He's also sick of the fighting, obviously.
He's over it. Romeo is not an aggressor. Romeo would never start a fight. And because Romeo is not like that, Benvolio isn't like that either. And there's something to keep in mind here, that Romeo is so depressed that Benvolio goes and gets their mate Mercutio. He's the good time guy. He's like, let's have a massive night out. I'm going to go get Mercutio. He's the best, and you'll forget about everything.
Yeah, got it. Well, I just got the Zoom 10-minute warning, so
I know, me too.
Let's wrap that there. I think that's great. At thy good heart's oppression. So, man, that was really enjoyable reading that, and like, you are so good at doing the like voice and stuff. So, let's talk about you a little bit just before we wrap it up. So, what is your history with Shakespeare? I'm guessing you've performed in it before, given how good at it you are. But yeah, what's your history with it?
So I've been really lucky. I've worked professionally as a Shakespearean actor for a very long time, 18 years at the moment. Wow. And I've worked in Australia, in New Zealand, in New York. And I've been really lucky to work with some of the best people around. So I absolutely adore Shakespeare. And I've been very lucky to play some fantastic, he writes female characters beautifully. So I've been really lucky to play some of those.
Who is your favorite character that you've played from Shakespeare? It doesn't have to be Romeo and Juliet. It can be anybody.
I love Hermione from The Winter's Tale. I've been Catherine in The Taming of the Shrew, which is 10 Things I Hate About You, if people playing at home.
I've heard that.
And I've also been Portia in Merchant of Venice, which is also hilarious. And
cool.
But also, Lady Macbeth and Gertrude and Queen Elizabeth and Richard III. There's just incredible parts for everyone, really. Awesome.
What is your feeling on whether Shakespeare was one person or a conglomeration of people? I've heard both sides.
Okay, so my feeling is, obviously there are two camps of us in the Shakespearean theatre world. There are some people who feel that Shakespeare was a front for a nobleman who wrote these plays, and it would not have been appropriate for a noble to write things like this, as though Shakespeare was paid to do that. My personal take on Shakespeare is that the reason a certain group of people think that it couldn't possibly have been him is based on snobbery and prejudice. So the basis of why these people think that Shakespeare couldn't have written his own things is because Shakespeare was middle class. He never went to Cambridge. He never went to Oxford. He never went to the accepted paths for someone to be heralded as an amazing writer and intellectual. And I personally don't feel we need to have to have done that in order to be someone who's a high achiever.
No, I sure hope you don't.
Yeah, and so I think it's a bit snobby and it's a bit gross to say that Shakespeare was not one of us. He was one of us. He was educated, of course. Yeah. He was educated up to quite a late age, to about 15. Yeah. But he was not a noble. He was not a nobleman's son. He was just a brilliant, brilliant human being.
I love it. And so where can the listeners, if they want to check, because you are just, why don't you tell people what you kind of do and where they can sort of find you if they want to get more of what you do in their life?
So at the moment, I'm doing a lot of stand-up comedy.
Yeah. And
I have a gig coming up in Auckland in October called Sicko. And it's me, Sandra Pace, who you know, and Adele Bindon, who I think you know too. Yeah. So the three of us, it's a comedy based on all of our sort of chronic illnesses, and sort of we're competing with each other in a comedy pageant, a Sicko's pageant, to see who's the sickest.
I love it.
It's very funny. It's going to be very funny. So that's going to be on at the Classic Studio on October 18th and 19th.
I got to be honest, I don't know if this episode will drop by then, but I'm going to leave that in because I just like hearing that. So social media pages, have you got anywhere that people can follow you?
Yeah, so if you get onto Instagram, I'm Jess_Loudon, Loudon, which is the most appropriate surname in history because I'm always loud and I'm always on.
I love it. Well, thanks so much for giving up some of your time. This has been like mind expanding and I've really enjoyed it. I hope the tech issues don't, I hope people sort of made it through. Zoom can be a pain in the butt at the worst of times, but I really appreciate you giving up your time for this.
Thank you so much for having me, Taylor. I've had so much fun with you this morning. I'm going to go and read some more Shakespeare.
Hell yeah. Alrighty. Thank you, Jess.
See you. Have a great day.
So that brings us to the end of another episode of Line by Line. Thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed it, please tell your theatre-loving friends about it. Give us a share on social media. And most importantly, leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Good Pods, or whatever your favourite podcatcher is. Come back next week, same time, same place for another episode of Line by Line. To quote the bard himself, parting is such sweet sorrow that I shall say goodnight till it be next week. Thank you for listening.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.
As humans, we're naturally driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. When I was looking to hire someone, it was so slow and overwhelming. I wish I had used Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.